God has rescued you. And then to believe if he done it then, is he never going to do it again? He's going to do it again. If he rescued you from that, he's going to rescue you. But I think our biggest battle that we have to know what God's will is for our life, how to get to that next step, how to overcome it, we got to avoid distraction. Has anybody in here ever got distracted by something? TV, radio, smartphones. And you go to a restaurant, what do you see nowadays? People on their cell phones. We don't understand why marriages are falling apart. You know, they never speak a single word to each other. They both got their heads buried in cell phones. I've seen people bring tablets, set them right there when they're having lunch with, assuming their wife or, you know. And you wonder why. You know. Because there's too many distractions that we have going on. My wife's got it easy because, I mean, she gets to look at me and she gets distracted by that. I mean, it's easy for her. It's easy. You know, you can't blame her. I'll give myself a pat on the back. She's probably like, yeah, whatever. That's not the camera adding 10 pounds. But that's why I believe is distraction. I believe is our enemies, the devil. Number one tool is to get us distracted, to get us to start doubting because we're going through something. He starts, where's God at? Why would he allow you to go through that? Why would he allow you to experience that? Because the world has many things that attest for our time and energy. You know, you think about it, you can sit and watch a movie. Not saying that you can't ever do these things. You can sit and watch a movie for hours, you know, a couple hours. You can sit and watch football for all day long. Some people can, some people don't. But whatever it may be that takes your time. And we say, well, we don't have, then I love the excuse, well, I don't have time for God. I don't have time to read my Bible. I don't have time to do it. You just got through watching the marathon of It's a Good Life. You know, spend all day watching it. Or whatever it may be, spending all day watching whatever it is, you are watching hours on end of TV a night. It can be hard, but we got to press in. We have to evaluate our time and what we're doing. Not that you can't ever watch TV and do those things. But if you're watching TV and hours on end on your computer all the time, and you say, "Well, I don't have time." That's where my problem comes in. You say you don't have time, but you spend all the time doing other stuff. I know there's, kids can take up a lot of time, energy and stuff like that. But use that to help it, to speak into their life, to be the example in their life. When they go to bed, I know you're probably tired, wore out. I know when we watch our nephew, we get him for overnight. When we pass him on the next day, we both just crash. Because he's like 2 years old and goes. He don't stop. The only thing he stops for is curious George. That's the only thing he stops for. But I know it can be hard. I don't know what it's like, but I know it can take your time, your energy. But don't let that be an excuse. Because we make time for what we want to make time for.
That's right.
It's something that's helped me out. A book. Some of you know about it, some of you may not know about it. But it's called Secrets of the Secret Place. I can't say the guy's name.
Bob Sorge.
Bob Sorge. If you want to know how to get there, how to get the most out of being in God's presence, the things that come your way, that's how we know. That's where we hear from God. If we're not taking that time away from everything, we're not getting all the distractions out of the way, and how we know what God's will is for our life. If we're not shutting, the first chapter was go and shut the door. Shut the door behind you. Just get in there. Don't go in there and start turning TV on and put headphones in. I think a lot of times we just want to try to drown out our thoughts. We don't want to deal with what's really going on. I'm just going to highlight a few of the chapters that kind of stuck out, because all of them are amazing chapters that I've been through and read so far. But there's some that really kind of stuck out. And then ask yourself, how much time do we spend alone with God? How much time do we set aside? Is it just Sunday morning? Is it daily? Take that time and be alone with Him. And there's 4 that stuck out. The first one was the secret of intercession. Does everybody know what intercession is? It's basically standing in the gap, believing for somebody. But there's a lot of people going through a lot of things. Everybody in here, you go down, I can go through and ask everybody in here, and they've got some battle, something they got going on in their life. Right. Sometimes certain things trigger certain things to bring that person to your memory. Because every time I get in my semi, I think of Mike, because he drove semi. I may not keep in touch with him, as much as I should, but every time I get in the truck, I think of it. Every time I see, a farmer farming, think of my dad, think of other people that farm and the stuff they do, and just enter in for them. Just enter into that prayer, because they might not have the strength to go through it. But to intercede for them and believe God to meet their every need in their life. Because when you're going through something, you don't see the good a lot of times. You just see all the bad, all the negative. You don't see the miracles that are actually taking place. And then the secret of time. Something already kind of talked about, but there's so much stuff that vies for our time, that takes our time, whatever it may be. We need to set aside the time to be alone with God, to shut everything off. Turn the radios off, turn the TVs off, turn the phones off. Because you could be praying and having the door shut, and then somebody calls you. Somebody can text you. Or you got your computer right there that dings with a message. Distraction. It seems like it never fails. If you don't take anything in there with you, you don't have to worry about it. And the secret of journaling. I really like this one. Because, that's where Bob Sorge, if that's pronouncing it right, that's how he writes his books. When he's in the secret place, he says, take a notepad with you. Take a notepad. If a thought comes to your mind, he said, no matter what it is, jot it down. That way, it's not in your mind. You've wrote it down, and it's gone. I believe when you're praying, I believe the enemy comes in and starts trying to distract us, trying to start putting those thoughts like, well, if you're there, I thought you were supposed to be protected. At church, there's the enemies at work too, to have all these distractions, to think about all these different things you may got going on after church, and miss what God has for you this morning. To get that breakthrough that you've been believing for. So when you do that, when you go to your secret place, you get away from everything, take a notepad with you and write down, God, something comes to your heart, write it down. Something comes to your mind, write it down. So he said that's where his books come from. That's where his writings come from. And the secret of meditating. I'm just thinking about things. He said he takes, to break it down, 10 minutes on a verse. Has anybody tried, to focus on the verse for 10 minutes? Because you can read a verse and be like, oh, this is what this verse means. Until you stop and think about it, you may not truly get the true meaning of what it is. You just read it. Because for me, I time myself. It takes like 7 to 10 seconds to read a verse on average. And I'm a slow reader. I have to sound things out sometimes, so that's pretty good. But you can read a verse pretty quick. Or you can read it over and over. 10 minutes. It's like, man, that's a long time. It is, it can be a long time. But to stop and think about it, to meditate on what you're reading, praying through the scriptures and thinking about it, not rushing through it. And another book that I just read, that if you have any doubts about heaven or what it's going to kind of be like, I don't know where you all are on this, but that book, Heaven is for Real, that's a very good book. I haven't seen the movie, but, how could a little kid just kind of make that stuff up? There's always going to be somebody that's going to try to counteract it, to try to crush it. I found, looking for the book, there's a guy who wrote a book that he found the discrepancies with what was wrong with that book. So you're always going to find people going against your experience. When you think about it, a little kid's not going to just fathom all that up. That's right. It's pretty neat. But the main verses I want to kind of hit on real quick is in Jeremiah 29, verses 11 through 14. I'm going to read from the King James Version. Might be a little different than the overhead. It says, "For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord. Thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. Then shall you call upon me, you shall go and pray unto me, and I will hearken unto you. You shall seek me and find me, when you search for me with all your heart. And I will be found of you, saith the Lord. And I will turn away your captivity. And I will gather you from all the nations, from all the places whither I have driven you, saith the Lord. And I will bring you again into the place which I caused you to be carried away captive. You know, because when you're going through something and you think about and look at those verses, to know that he knows the thoughts he has for you. He knows the plans that you don't even know he has for you. But too often, like I was, and you still have to battle it. You still have to contend for your faith to get through it, but to go to that next step. I believe we could avoid a lot of heartache and trials and tribulations if we set some time aside and enter into God's presence. To take our journal into our secret place and write things down. So I believe God speaks to us every day. But I believe we just miss the mark. I miss the mark, every day. I know I do. It's at the job I got fired from, and not fired from. But you don't want to say that to unemployment, because that's a big, I accidentally said that. Like, you mean you got fired because you don't get unemployment if you say you got fired. But it was, no, I got laid off. It's like, okay. But a little bit before that, I felt like maybe it's time for me to move on. Maybe it's time for me to find a new job. Did I go and do that? No, I didn't go. I believe that God was leading me, but I didn't go through with it. And I probably could have avoided that month of being home. But I believe it's just because I wasn't where I was supposed to be and didn't follow through with it. And I believe we missed that mark a lot. Because that's where I was, the fear of going to the next step. Because we get comfortable. Am I right? We get comfortable. We like what we're doing. Maybe we don't even like what we're doing, but we're comfortable. We've been there. And we like convenience. I was going to bring a microwave for an illustration, but I didn't want to pack a microwave for an illustration, for a 5-second illustration, so I just
picture
a microwave. Is everybody there? Picture a microwave. Because it don't take very long to cook something in the microwave. A pot pie, for an example. takes 3.5 minutes in a microwave. Takes 45 minutes in an oven. But if you have, it's amazing how much better it tastes out of the oven though. But we want convenience. We want it now. And we're praying and seeking. We want answers now. We want God to speak to us now. I brought a 2-liter. Some people are like, man, are you really thirsty? Right. You get nervous, you got to drink something. But convenience-wise, is it convenient? Go to the store, you're thirsty, grab a 2-liter bottle of soda. What do? Yeah, I know this is not a soda bottle, but what do? You grab a bottle.
Costs the same.
Same cost. Yeah, the little one's actually probably a little more. You can go get $1, 2 liters. But it's just convenient to get the little one. Does anybody I want a 2 liter.
Okay.
You want?
Yeah, I'll take it. Come on out.
Not careful opening it if they come. Well, no, if you open it, because you'll just see the fountain of soda coming up. But we want convenience. We want, because I got a 2 liter and got a cup of ice. I got, I think, four things of soda. Granted, I filled it up with ice the first time, so you get a couple ounces of soda. But I got 4 fill-ups on a 32-ounce cup with a 2 liter. Same cost. If you buy a fountain, sorry, coffee. thought I had it covered, but it's the same cost. You know, if you get it, you know, you probably fill a half cup of ice. Do that 4 times, you can get 4. Feel like you're getting 4 sodas, and it's the same amount. But we want the convenience. We want the easiness. I don't know if that's probably not a word, but
It worked.
I'm just grabbing. It's a word now. It's easy just to grab the little bottle because it's convenient. And that's the way we like it. Convenient. We don't want to take that next step. We don't want to get out of our comfort zone. Because for me, it hit me when Pastor Lance did the illustration on the ladder of going up the next step. What really got me, what do you say as you go up, what's the ladder do? Gets narrower. What do you think that narrower means?
By
In your
yourself.
faith. You know, you got less and less, more and more that's going to be required of you. You don't have as much room to move. The steps can get a little, with that one, steps can get a little wobbly.
Yeah.
I was a little worried when he had me on his back going up the steps, I ain't gonna lie.
I ain't gonna lie.
I was like grabbing, trying to hold on. He's like, let go. I'm like, I don't want to let go. But it's true. Some people can feel like can carry you for a little bit, but eventually you gotta start taking your own steps. Because as you take that next step, it gets a little bit narrower, a little bit narrower, a little bit narrower. Because that's where I was afraid of going to that next step. What was going to be asked of me, what was going to be, I think my main thing was, what I battled with the most, is what I was going to have to go through to get to that next step. Because I was already tired and wore out from the things I've been going through and stuff. Right. Just like, I think that's why I felt the way I did, because I was kind of putting it off. But we can't be afraid. Look at Matthew 13, 11 and 12. Try to wrap it up. You know, Packers fans are probably getting a little antsy in the front of
I'm cool. We're already up.
Packers are already winning, they haven't even started yet. But these verses it was just awesome, like I said, just how God kind of lined it out through my devotion and through the app that has verses of the day. It says, he replied, you are permitted to understand the secrets of the kingdom of heaven, but others are not. To those who listen to my teaching, more understanding will be given. They will have an abundance of knowledge. But for those who are not listening, even what little understanding they have will be taken away from them. Luke 12:48. But he knew not, and did not commit things worthy, and did commit things worthy of stripes, shall be beaten with few stripes. For unto whosoever much is given, of him shall be much required. And to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask the more. And that verse really kind of spoke to me. Much is, you take that next step, more is going to be demanded.
Yep.
But we can't be afraid because we know that God's with us every step of the way.
Amen.
And I don't know about you, but you see people that aren't living right, and you feel like, man, they ain't going through, they don't feel like they're going through nothing. It's like one thing, it's kind of my mystery thing that I always question. Is like, these people aren't living right, but it seems like they're not going through anything. You're living right, and it feels like you're just going through everything. It's like,
Devil's attack.
don't make sense. But if you look at that verse, 12:48, it says, but he knew that knew not. He did not commit things and did commit things worthy of stripes. He knew not, committed things worthy of stripes, but it was only beaten with few stripes. Does that make sense? This person didn't know, committed things worthy of stripes, but he didn't receive that many stripes. But for whomsoever much is given, to him shall be much required. And to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask more. And in closing, the example to use an example that kind of sums it up. Jesus' life should be our example, what we should live by. Because he came to this earth and experienced things that if he didn't, then he wouldn't know what we felt like, what we was going through. Whether you want to believe in him or not, he did come to this earth, he did walk this earth and experience things. Because it's easy to sit back and, when you're not going through something, to tell people how they should do it. So what would it be for him to not come down here and then be like, this is what you need to do, blah, 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 if he never experienced it, but he came and experienced it to know what we go through, what we feel, the emotions that we feel. And this example, because it seems like you experience something great, God does something in your life, and then it seems like the next moment you go through something. Has anybody ever felt that way or had that happen? You experience this, whether it's God speaking to you, whether you get a breakthrough, whatever you've been praying for God for, and you get that, receive that, then you go out in the parking lot, your car won't start, or you got a flat tire, whatever it may be. Kids are running rampant, running in the parking lot, throwing rocks, whatever. And you kind of forget about what you just experienced. It can be easily done. You can be here, be in service, experience great worship. God speaks to you through the message. You walk out the door, half an hour later, what are you talking about? Has anybody else done that? And I believe, I love taking notes, jotting scripture down to go back and reference to it. There's this thing that Billy Graham had that said, you remember 10% of what you hear. So if you didn't take notes, didn't write anything down, go home and try to think of, however long, 40 minutes, try to think of 4 minutes of what I talked about. I've tried to do it, and you can't. It's pretty hard to do. So you remember 10% of what you hear. Sorry, that was my breathing.
Well, remember that.